Single parenting isn't easy. We understand. Most parents don't plan to go it alone, but you can still make the most of this journey for your children and yourself. In fact, if you and your family are on that journey, this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Single Parent Advocate community and to our podcast. And here are your hosts, single parent founder Stacy Poitras, and broadcast journalist, single dad and friend, Daryl Moody.
Welcome back. This is the Single Parent Advocate podcast. I am Daryl Moody, joining you from Orlando, Florida, in my home studios. Stacy Poitras, the Single Parent Advocate, joins us from the Work Innovators Network at the Venture X, the Realm at Castle Hills in Dallas, Texas, our beautiful SPA studios. Stacy, happy Friday. How are you?
Happy Friday, Daryl. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's been a very busy week for me. I had some stuff going on at work, not work-related stuff at work, and it isn't quite resolved yet. But it's made for a long, stressful week, and I'm glad that it's Friday, and I'm glad that we are here talking about single parenting and all the challenges and all of the fun in everybody's journey. But let's talk about, you had a big weekend last weekend. You had your financial literacy, was a Zoom training session, if you will. You had an expert talking about your finances and balancing your checkbooks and that sort of thing. How'd that go?
Well, it was really awesome. So we had financial expert Rika Wright from West Palm Beach, Florida, in addition to Jeannie Irvin from BBVA Bank. And both of these professionals came onto Zoom with about 40 families. And we had workbooks about, knowing what money is coming in, knowing what money's going out, making sure you can set aside, even if it's money in an envelope, for some of your extra expenses that you expect. Like, for instance, one of my extra expenses is I have an eye condition. And so my eye drops cost $160 every time I have to get them refilled. And so an application in my life for budgeting was you can take that $160 and set it aside a little bit each paycheck and track that so that you don't get off with your budget as it relates to, how much you expect to make or how much you did make each month. We talked about like savings, what kind of credit cards to look for. We're going to actually, it was so successful, we're going to just bring it back. We're going to turn this into a financial literacy series that we're going to continue to offer on Zoom. And Dr. Purge did an incredible job just, keeping everything together and working through all of that material. It was like drinking through a fire hose. And all of us at the end, we didn't want to get off the phone or off the Zoom. It was... So wow. We went about 30 minutes over, but it was well worth it. And I think that we've really hit a hot spot of where we can start taking a lot of our training and our talks. So important managing the finances. And if you can do that efficiently and effectively, it really does make every other aspect of single parenting easier. What kind of feedback did you get from the participants, the families? Well, a lot of them talked about they didn't know what went into a FICO score. So we talked about the different components of a FICO score. And of course, that's how you get loans or approved for a home or approved for financial
anything from a credit card to your, to your electric bill. All sorts of things are tied to your credit score.
Oh, yeah. So we talked about FICO scores, then we talked about, as I mentioned, budgeting. We talked a lot about, making sure you know what kind of bank accounts to apply for, the ones that are free, or the credit cards that have 0% interest, or how to pay down debt. I mean, we are going to really have to bring it back because there were so many topics that nobody wanted to let go of. And so rest assured, we're going to bring it back. We'll have another Zoom and invite even more people to come. It is a morning of pulling out your pencil and your spiral, and taking some
critical,
notes.
Though, I mean, it may not be fun, but I mean, it's so useful. I can't imagine anybody not wanting to do it.
Well, and Rika Wright over at over in West Palm Beach, she's offered to come back. She gave away $100 discount on her financial services to one of the moms for attending. And she does all kinds of credit repair, really helps with budgeting. She's a financial wizard. I don't even remember the alphabet soup that comes after her name of all her certifications, but she's amazing.
Right. Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm just like, okay, we're just going to call you Rika Wright, the finance wizard, because she's amazing. So I learned a ton. I can't even regurgitate it all, but I know we're going to be bringing her back, as well as Jeannie Irvin from BBVA. The other thing that was neat that we talked about, and I don't really broadcast this a lot, but BBVA is Single Parent Advocates Bank. And you can, if you have an account at BBVA, you can actually call them and select Single Parent Advocate to be your nonprofit agency that you want to support by banking there. And they will literally donate money to Single Parent Advocate passively every time you use your ATM card as a credit card.
Wow.
And the second thing they'll do is, let's say you need to open an account for your teenager and start getting into budgeting for them, or you need a savings account, right? Whatever flavor that looks like, they will donate $50 to Single Parent Advocate if you select us as your charity. So BBVA has really been a great partner for 12 years now, and we're just deepening that relationship, and they're coming to the table talking directly to parents to deliver resources and wisdom. So
That's
I like
tremendous.
deepening that. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. And because it was a Zoom presentation, can folks go on to singleparentadvocate.org and watch that now? Is that available?
We're going to edit it. We really protect the identities of our families. So what I'm going to be doing is working to get that edited and making sure that, a lot of the meat and the potatoes of the presentation itself are, available to all of our online audience, but without the personal aspect and the personal questions of the families. And so I have to get that edited, but it will go on YouTube as soon as we can get that done.
So stay tuned for that.
Yep.
And of
we'll
course,
promote
today, and of course, May starts tomorrow. Huge month for Single Parent Advocate. Of course, Mother's Day is in May, but that's really a month-long focus for you, beginning tomorrow with a food distribution event. Tell me about that.
Well, we've been planning for a month to bless single moms. And so we have 2 events in the Dallas area we're super excited about. We're going to be partnering with a church in the South Dallas area. They're Antioch Missionary Baptist Church, and we are going to be filling the refrigerator of 50 moms of within our community, and then also at least 50 moms of their community. There'll be over 1,500 boxes of food. It's going to be fresh dairy, milk, eggs, meat. We've asked all the moms to decorate their cars and drive through so that we can award somebody a tablet and probably some gift cards for the best decorated car in honor of Mother's Day. And then we have a few other things, like we had a generous donation from area business people of flower pots. They're these beautiful ceramic flower pots from Home Goods. And so we filled them up full of dirt and some pretty flowers. And so each mom's going to get a flower and a certificate. So we're hoping that, people feel a little bit more empowered, more appreciated, more equipped with just some nice things that may make the day a little brighter, a little better when Mother's Day rolls around on the 9th.
And food drives are so critical right now amid the pandemic, even a year out from the onset of all this stuff. I report full time for WDBO radio in Orlando, but I also have a freelance job where I have 5 other radio stations across the country that I provide one story a day for, smaller market stations. It's kind of my side hustle. And if I cannot stress to you how many food drive stories I have done in the last, 15 months. it seems like every part of the country, food insecurity has really become a major issue since the onset of the pandemic last March. And this is such a critical effort. You guys need support with it. You work with food pantries, I'm sure. If folks want to help you feed families, how can we do that?
It's real easy. You just go to singleparentadvocate.org and hit the donate button. It cost us about $50 to reach out to each single parent family on Mother's Day, roughly. It might be a little more for some of the larger families. So, our campaign has been 50 for 50 because we have 49 moms we're serving, in our own reach. And then we're serving also the other moms that we're going to, get to meet, right? Mm-hmm. So $50 will give all these things to a wonderful family. The moms are even going to get a beautiful brooch that an area jeweler donated. So, the whole community understands what single moms are going through, single dads too. And really we're coming together to answer that with as much love and hands-on help as we possibly can.
I love the brooch. What a personal touch to it. I mean, when you get one of these boxes, of course, there's a critical need for it, but what a nice kind of, cherry on top for the moms to get something that they can, dress up with.
It's been that way ever since Single Parent Advocate first was founded. Every single year, we make our plans, and we start executing, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to go about serving families? And, it's always bringing an event together is always like bringing the donors and the community together with the families. And it's always like a race to the finish line about bringing everything together. And what I've noticed is there's always like this element of, aha, we've arrived, and it's different every single year, but I feel God in it, I feel like God working things together for the good of the group, volunteers, all of our generous supporters, and the families too, to where every year's a little bit different, a little bit new, but it's like a family reunion where we get together, we celebrate whatever, we can get put together, and then we make the best of it, and then we stay online with each other afterwards, and it's been wonderful to watch and to observe the faithfulness of God throughout all of this. I just have to give him props too.
Of course, and we've talked about this before. For Valentine's Day, I took my kids and we volunteered at a women's shelter, and it's unique being in that room full of all those single moms and hearing them share their stories. It's humbling. It really is. And it's really impactful to see everybody with, different experiences, but a shared experience itself. So continuing on with the focus on moms this month, you've got something planned for the weekend of Mother's Day as well.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Talk to me about that.
This is another fast-breaking thing that happened. We have a wonderful relationship with Gateway Church Dallas, and we're very fortunate and grateful for them for this. Listen to this. So they are going to partner with Single Parent Advocate to reach out to single parents within their congregation, similar to the Antioch Missionary Baptist Church I told you about. Mm-hmm. So they're bringing in their single moms, and then I'm inviting our single moms that are, again, here in Dallas. And they're going to have a meal and be given a comedy show with Fish Sticks Comedy. And we're going to bring the children's ministry in. All of the children that are 12 and younger are going to have a great time. They're going to be fed. So body, mind, and spirit, we're all going to be fed.
Sure. Totally.
And I'm so excited because really on my heart a lot is the joyfulness factor. love, peace, and joy, right? And really, how do we stay in that space? And I think we have to be very intentional. And so Fish Sticks Comedy is coming on site. They're going to be in person, on stage, mic'd up and ready for lots of belly laughs. We'll be giving away the plants, any plants that were unclaimed on this Saturday as centerpieces on the tables. And then in each location, we'll do some drawings for door prizes. And we're just so grateful for these two churches coming alongside of us as part of their missions and outreach. There's a lady at Gateway who is named Lisa Jackie, and she leads their single parent outreach across multiple campuses. And so she's going to be standing up with me, and we're going to be talking about joyfulness together. And then we're going to be having some joyfulness. So I'm super excited about that. So that's going to be on the 8th at lunchtime with
Awesome.
Gateway. Yep.
And if folks want to connect to this stuff, get the details, singleparentadvocate.org, the Single Parent Advocate Facebook page. You're on Instagram too, right? What's the handle on Instagram?
It's just Single Parent Advocate.
Single Parent Advocate on Instagram as well. Good stuff.
Yep. So if families want to attend the Gateway event, we have a different registration process that's actually going through the church itself this time. And so if families want to sign up to go to the Single Parent Advocate Gateway Combined Outreach, I would really think they should just send me a DM on Facebook, which is Stacy Poitras. Just send me a note, or just send a message on Single Parent Advocate's Facebook page, and we'll get it and try to get you signed up.
Good stuff. So, the subject matter of this week's podcast is the price of peace. But there's a segue that I have to go through to get into the subject matter. So I had a very interesting experience this week with my kids and my ex-wife. I have two little girls, 7 and 5, and they are enrolled in a ballet program at the community center where they go after school.
We talked about that last week.
Okay, so you know how anxious I was about having dinner after the recital with my ex-wife. So it was the night or the morning of, and I'm texting her to kind of work out the logistics, like, what are we doing tonight? And she goes, well, you get the tickets for Elise, I'll get the tickets for Claire. I'm not coming to dinner. I've already explained it to the girls. And while I was relieved and elated at the same time, I was also a little disappointed because I know my oldest daughter was really looking forward to having the family together. So I asked my ex-wife, I go, well, what happened to dinner? Why aren't you coming to dinner? She goes, oh, I'm bringing my boyfriend to the recital, and I didn't want to make dinner awkward. So I'm just kidding. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I had the pleasure of meeting my ex-wife's new boyfriend, and all of the awkwardness that came along with that. Seems like a nice guy. I mean, I don't have any weird jealousy issues or that sort of thing. So I shook the guy's hand, told him it was a pleasure to meet him. Seems like a nice enough guy. But I tell you what, man, it was quite an experience, just being the third wheel, especially after the recital. We're hanging out in the lobby, waiting for the girls to go change out of their leotards and then come out, and then we get to leave. It was just weird. But
did you bury your nose in your text? Did you do that?
Oh yeah. That was me. I'm texting two different people, like giving them a play-by-play. I'm like, I can't believe what he just said. Yeah. I just shook the guy's hand. It was awkward, but we make the most of it. I mean, when you're talking about doing the right things for the kids, it's not that hard to do. But so segueing into our subject matter this week, the price of peace. So I have to have a difficult conversation with my ex-wife again this week because of the taxes. That with all the pandemic stuff, the tax deadline was extended to May 17th instead of April 15th. I, however, for the first time in my adult life, got my taxes done before April and did my taxes back in February. So under the terms of the settlement agreement in my divorce, we decided, since we have two kids, one parent claims one kid, one parent claims the other. So the way it's written in the settlement agreement, I claim the older kid, she claims the younger kid. And when the older kid turns 18, we will alternate the younger one so that each of us gets, at least one deduction for the kid. So I got confused. It was totally my mistake. I will admit it. When I had my taxes prepared this year, I told my accountant, listen, I know we used Elise last year, but I have to switch. And now we got to use Claire. So I filed my taxes with Claire, the 5-year-old. Well, lo and behold, I got that wrong. We don't really start rotating Claire until after Elise turns 18. So I claimed the wrong kid. So,
Oh, no.
So that was 3 months ago. So my ex-wife reaches out to me and says, hey, you're going to need to amend your taxes. You claimed the wrong kid. You claimed Claire. You claimed Claire. That leaves me with Elise. And I was like, okay, well, it's already done now. Why don't you just claim Elise and then we'll switch back next year? Well, as it turns out, she wants the tax deduction for the childcare that she paid for in 2020. Even though
that makes sense, though.
I totally get it. No, there's a financial benefit, which I completely understand. But hear me out. Hear my story here. So she, the difference for her is about $300 and something, okay, in terms of the return that she would get or is going to get now. So, and again, it's my mistake. I own it. I've apologized 1,000 times for it, and I will continue to apologize for it. But there's some backstory here that you need to understand. In 2019, the year I was getting divorced, when I went to go file my taxes, I was met with the news that my ex-wife had already filed her taxes and claimed both kids. So here I am thinking I get to claim one of the kids when I prepare my taxes in 2019, and that didn't happen. As you might imagine, I was pretty upset. It was a difference for me of about $1,400 in terms of my refund. So I reached out to my attorney, and my attorney said, look, you're absolutely right, but you need to understand, if she's going to fight you on it, it's going to take a judge's order. The money that you're going to spend in legal fees getting to where that judge tells her you have to amend your taxes, he's like, it's not worth it, So I've got that in the back of my mind, Stacy, and part of me wants to say, hey, listen, you hosed me on the taxes 2 years ago. Now it's your turn in the barrel. But my ex-wife and I are in a fairly good place right now. I would like to keep that peace. So I am going to pitch to her, why don't I just go ahead and pay you the difference? You claim Elise, the older kid, and then next year we'll go back. I don't know. You've been doing this. You've been dealing with the ex longer than I have. Is that the right approach? I mean, we talked about the price of peace. I think for, whatever I'm going to pay her out of pocket, because when I talked to my tax accountant, they said, that's fine. You can file an amendment to your taxes, but you're going to have to return your refund that you got 3 months ago. And you're going to have to pay $149 to amend your taxes. Then you have to wait for the IRS to sign off on it and all that stuff. She said, so you're going to tie up your refund for weeks, and then you're still going to have to pay again. So I think the best course of action is to just pitch to my ex-wife, I'll pay you the difference of what you shouldn't have paid in your taxes, and let's go from there. What do you think?
Well, I think, first of all, high road, when you take the high road, it's always probably going to be the most fruitful road, right? But I've kind of been in that boat. I mean, in a different boat, but, throughout my son's life, I told you that his dad, was pretty much absentee, no birthday card, none in 21 years, ever. Never a Merry Christmas. I think I accidentally got $1,500 through the state of Texas one time, and his child support was supposed to be, $300 to $400 a month. It was set very low, by me on purpose. And I look back at how I felt, and I felt really wronged. I felt sad for my son. But the other side of me, and the side of me I chose to listen to, was how big of a difference would $300 a month make to me in the long term? Because I'm in it to win it with my son, and I'm going to work hard, and I had a good job in the media too, just like, we've talked about before. And there were highs and lows in there. So there were some months where the $300 would have made all the difference in the world, it felt like. And then there were other months where it was like, thank you. I'm just, that $300 is well worth the piece of not fighting over it, not having to track somebody down. I didn't know where he lived. He completely disappeared. And I feel he probably hit some trouble, and that's not what I want to talk about. But I want to talk about, the last words he ever said to me were, "I love you." And that's all I ever remember. But then I remember him evaporating. And he could have been my focus, but I just changed my focus to be about me and my son, and how do I create a wonderful environment full of new things how do I work smarter, not harder, to make that $300 not matter? Because evidently he didn't have it, or he didn't want to give it, so much so that he was gone, like there was no communication whatsoever. So I know many families, moms and dads, have had an absentee co-parent, and bitterness is a big boulder. It's a big boulder to carry around that affects all of your relationships, all of your perspectives, all of your views on life. It's like putting on glasses with blood red lens. It just really colors everything you see and do and hear. And I wanted to give my son somebody who saw hope and help and promise and possibility.
There was no like innate need for you to, get justice or make it fair, because it's not fair that you can just abandon your kids and not contribute. To me, it's unfair that you can hose me on my taxes, and then 2 years later I make an honest mistake, and I have to make it right, but you didn't. I mean, how do you balance the need for things to be fair in your mind versus keeping the peace?
Well, you're right. It's like healthy boundaries versus, being a doormat, right? Where's that line? Love when love is not what you have received. And, where does that cross the line of codependent, or, being used or allowing yourself to be used? And I think what happened for me was there was no choice. Really, I could walk around and beat my chest and call the state. I could hire a private investigator and go and figure out, how to uncover all of the potential money that I was missing out on. But to your point a minute ago, how much money would have that costed? And how much of my time would it have consumed? And how much would it have taken away from soccer games and, all the things that we had? So I just built a village, and I'm honored to say the village came around me and Chris, and we had, church friends and neighbors and people who he had his hobbies with and people who I have my hobbies with. And, it just ended up being giving up that $300 a month really was the best thing I ever did. Even though, you think, okay, I'm going to be putting that money in my bank and it's going to provide for college, or it's going to help cover my expenses, or it's going to help do whatever the front burner thing is this month. But at the end of the day, it'd be great if that were there, but it's not.
What you said that I like the most, what is going to stick with me is, instead of focusing on the past, focus on the future. And if you're, if you're going to seek justice and to try and make it right, you're focusing on the past. If you're, doing what needs to be done to keep the peace, so to speak, so that the path forward is less bumpy, you're focused on the future. So that's what I got out of what you just said.
Oh, well,
sure.
and it'll pay off in spades if you choose to see it that way. And we talked about a lot of things, but forgiveness is for you, right? It's for you. It's that, get that heavy weight off the agenda. It's really for you, your body, your mentality, your mental wellness, and your children's. Because you have to remember, if you create that kind of argument and that kind of environment for them to be raised in, what are you doing to their view of the world and their joy and their happiness and their wholeness? Well, you're taking the two people that are the most two important people in their lives, and you're taking this one instance to go to war over that could really change the dynamic of your family for the rest of your children's lives. Mm-hmm. So what's more important, $300 or having a happy, healthy, whole, and hopeful co-parenting situation where down the line maybe things could even out, right?
I don't know. People accuse me of being a pessimist. I like to think I'm a realist, but I'm gonna. The first thing you said was take the high road. I'm gonna take the high road. The price of peace in this case, I think, is worth, not going after vengeance. So
well, like you said, all of the attorneys and all the procedures and all the hoops that you have to jump through are going to cost way more than that.
Well, so this would be my opportunity to stick it to her and say, no, you have to jump through all those hoops now if you want to get that back. You know what I mean? So it's I don't know. We talked about it. I feel good about that decision. I think I'm going to do the right thing and just offer to make it right for her. And then, let's just keep the peace moving forward. Right?
Doesn't that make your heart glow? Doesn't that just I feel better now?
Maybe a little.
Yeah.
Maybe a little. There's still a lot of bitterness for me, Stacey. I'm 2 years divorced. There's still a lot of fresh pain there.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to dismiss that. That everybody heals.
To your point, I think this facilitates healing much more than let's go back and fight about something that happened 2 years ago. You know what I mean? So
well, and you have to pick out what hill you're going to die on. Is this the hill I'm going to die on? There might be situations that come up that are absolutely not okay. And I think the more flexible you can be with the small things, and luckily this is a smaller amount that we're talking about today. When it needs to be a no, it means like, hey, I've cooperated all these other times, but for this one's a non-starter for me, and this is where I'm stuck, and this is kind of how I would like to, see if you'll reconsider, and so you build an equitable relationship over time, not one decision at a time, right? Yeah. And that goes with any relationship. That goes with our kids too. You think about, I want an equitable relationship, not an equitable, moment by moment. Because if everything has to be even, Steven, what's that turn you into? A scorekeeper. And nobody likes scorekeepers. I've gone to dinner with scorekeepers before where it had to be down to the penny, where, you have to split the bill. Instead of just splitting the bill, it's like, no, this part is what mine is and this part's what yours is. And then you spend so much time dissecting the bill. By the time it's over, you just want to go home like, it's ruined the whole thing.
For sure. No, I'm not a big fan of splitting checks to begin with, but if I do it, it's 2 cards, half on each. We enjoyed ourselves. It's the price of the timeout. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes it's a situation of, can you afford it? And certainly if that's the case, um, my heart is open to that. And I've had people be nice to me when I was tight on budget, and they just either pick up the check or say, hey, I'm going to get most of it, and that's how we get along together. That's why it's important to have friends and community and be able to communicate and be transparent. But when you get into scorekeeping and tit for tat over short term, it never, to me, you might get a dig in, or you might win a small little battle. But if you're going to use the anomaly that raising a family is not about a battle, right? It's the war. It's the war that you fight to make the long-term game come together for all of you. And that does include your ex-wife.
Yes, it does.
I said something one day. There was this person I was talking to about divorce. And the nature of the conversation was not financial. It was, this person's heart was just bleeding. It was really broken. And there had been, some things that, my heart would have been broken over too. But I said, if you look at divorce, because they had kids together, I said, there's a reason why you have divorce. And you can choose to keep your mind and your heart right there. I said, but really at the end of the day, you're having somebody who's been a dear friend turn into a different kind of friend. You're changing your boundaries. You've made a mutual decision, or hopefully a mutual decision.
Friends is a strong word, Stacy.
Yeah, it is.
Like I said, 2 years removed, I'm still bitter.
So listen. This is just for your consideration, and anybody else is out there. Everybody can agree or disagree. But in this particular situation, what came to me was, the relationship, you're changing your boundaries. You're no longer on each other's inner circle, right, for the time being. So, but you're still co-parenting. And so they have to be somewhere on the circle, right? And then in addition to that, it's a change of living arrangements. So you're changing two parts of your relationship right there. And then you think about it, you've got to change your financial relationship. So you have three things with this person that, were intertwined, and you're basically undoing that. And if you can take that and go, okay, this person is not emotionally, connected to me anymore, but we have these three touch points we have to work on together. It's a change in living arrangements. It's a change in relationships, and it's a change in finances. And try to breathe through that and go, okay, I can still get along. I can still partner in those areas, and put the emotions, out of that exchange if possible, as much as, I know that's a big ask, but it really does help to be positive and productive and to leave an excellent legacy for ourselves to look back on and our kids. One lady I really want to introduce to everybody is Kimberly Rouse. She talks about who you are when you are big. And so when we're going through these battles, we always tend to bring out our, not our best selves, let's just say that. And so, if we've lost a job, or if we've lost a spouse, or we've kind of gone this bumpy road, and we kind of, we have coping behaviors, all of us do, me too, that really aren't our best selves. And so if we have to go re-interview for a job, or if we're going to go seek a new mate, or if we're going to raise our kids, if you are a parent, you are a leader. And you need to know who you are when you are big and when you're feeling good about yourself, and how to bring that person to the table for the sake of yourself first, your kids, and truly your extended family. And if you're have an ex-spouse who is your co-parent, they are part of your extended family. There's really a hard line there. You're not going to be able to undo that, but you can say, from a practical perspective, I choose to be a person that is leaving a positive and productive family, financial, and living legacy for my kids. That's the way you have to go at it. And you might have to swallow a few lumps in your throat a few times, but it's a really, really smart decision.
I think you're right, Stacy. Yet again, another example of me using the Single Parent Advocate podcast in lieu of counseling. So thank you for that public service. Hey, let's tell the folks again about the food distribution event tomorrow.
Okay, so tomorrow, Antioch Missionary Baptist Church in downtown Dallas, or South Dallas, we are going to be handing out food. And we have some families that are registered, but if you are a person who needs food, Antioch Missionary Baptist Church actually distributes food every other Saturday, 1,500 boxes every other Saturday. And so if you're not going to be with us tomorrow on May 1st, you can join Antioch Missionary Baptist Church every other Saturday. And I know that this is an ongoing program that they have, and they'll be happy to welcome you and support you and your family as well.
And for the details for tomorrow's food drive specific, can they go to the Single Parent Advocate Facebook page?
No, I'll push it out there one more time. What we're doing is we're really just inviting people to come. We have a lot of food to give away. So, you guys just come to Antioch Missionary Baptist Church. The food's going to be given away between 10 and noon. And we're going to be there early with smiles on, ready to see your faces.
Awesome. Well, folks, we want to thank you once again for joining us on the Single Parent Advocate podcast. If I could just take a second to plug my own podcast, Not in the Mood with Daryl Moody, available wherever you find this podcast. Search for Not in the Mood with Daryl Moody. You're going to find that as well. Next week, we're going to bring on an exciting guest. We'll have, more of the back and forth with Stacy and I. We're kind of feeling or finding our rhythm, I feel like, with that. That's great. But we're going to bring in another guest next week so we can have some expert advice and insights and things like that we can share with you folks, the listeners. So on behalf of Stacy, the folks there at the Work Innovators Network, at VentureX, the Realm at Castle Hills, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you folks next week.
And you guys subscribe.
Subscribe.